Gotta make sure that it's really 7 o'clock, otherwise we're in violation of the rules.
7:01.
Is it? Is it? Okay. All right, yeah, 7:01, I got that too, wait a minute. Um, okay, everybody ready? All right, so we will call the meeting of the Village of Tuxedo Park Planning Board to order at 7:02. I don't know, something like that. Really only one item on the agenda, which is advancement of the Overton uh property and lot number 7. We're still looking at 7. Um, we received some weeks ago an alternate phasing plan. Construction phasing plan. Um, and so that's really what we're here to discuss. Though, of course, if you have other stuff related to the project, we're happy to hear it.
No, that we want to nail that down first, and that way, if we focus on lot 7, then we're.
Okay. Okay. So Ashley, are you with us?
Yes. Hi,
Oh,
everyone.
good. Hello. The question came up as to whether we could modify the construction phasing plan without having to reopen the subdivision approval, which of course would be a massive undertaking, and it would mean reopening SECR and all those other items. And so we had Ashley look at this question, and she has written a treatise explaining this, but I thought it would be better if you could give us the capsule summary for the benefit of the board and the audience, and then the board members can ask any questions they have, and then we can move forward from there.
Sure.
Give me 1 second, just one little bit of business. Matt Tenari is in transit from PEI or Newfoundland or wherever he's doing windmills, and so yeah, probably not gonna be joining us tonight, but he said he'd zoom in if he can. Okay, Ashley, lay it on us.
Sure. So back when the subdivision was approved a few years ago, as part of the seeker review for that and ultimately made its way into the construction management plan, there was 3 separate stages for construction. So basically what that did is it broke up the infrastructure required for 3 groups of homes. So there was 2 homes, I believe 1 and 2, that didn't require any infrastructure or anything else, that once all the conditions of approval could be satisfied, homes could be built on those. Another stage, which is was stage 2, I believe, was lots 8 and 9, and that required some additional infrastructure, but not as much as the one that's relevant here, which was stage 3, and that included lot 7, lot 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So although the construction plan, it did divide it into these 3 stages, it noted that the order is dependent on the market and which lot was going to be desired to be constructed first. But that said, whatever lot they wanted to start on, all of those necessary infrastructure elements in that stage would have to be done before they could ever start construction on one of those lots. So with the proposal that's been presented to this board presently, there is an issue in that it was looking to split one of the stages into 2. So where the stage with lot 7 was also included lots 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I believe they're looking to move lot 3 and 4 into a separate stage. So for one, there's a lot of different things that have to happen before anything could be constructed on any of those lots, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. Notably, the road is the big one, shared stormwater improvements, and those all would have to be part of the same stage that is going to be the stage with the home of lot 7 that's desired. So the issue I saw with the applicant's proposal was that they were looking to push anything on lot 4 to a later stage, but there's a stormwater basin that's needed for the road and for those other homes that would have to be constructed before anything could be constructed on lot 7.
So we can, if I'm understanding correctly, and I'll let other people ask questions in a minute. The order that the lots, the houses are put on the lots can be adjusted, but any infrastructure necessary to build on that lot has to be completed first. And if that involves something that's shared with a lot that isn't being considered for construction, that infrastructure still needs to go in.
Exactly.
Now, I presume, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that if we're talking about something like a trunk sewer, so long as the, lots, and I'm making this up, but lots 7 and 3 share a trunk line. So long as the trunk line's put in and the appropriate manhole to connect up lot 3 later, they don't have to build the piece of pipe that goes from that connection onto lot 3. It's just the shared part of the infrastructure that has to be completed.
Yes, the individual connection could be later on, but anything that would need to be there so that lot 3 could connect.
Got it.
Lot 7 is by the turnaround, sort of at the end of the road, so that site utilities sort of built with the road up until the end, could be done and then, shared for future lots.
Right,
So
of course.
that's kind of how we envision it.
Which is fine. I've been reading all this. Stephanie, do you have questions for Ashley on any of this?
Not yet. I mean, your question clarified.
Okay,
My question.
Good, great. No, it's not you don't have to log a certain number of questions to keep your seat or anything. Gentlemen, either of you have questions?
Well, I guess I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
How does this impact our, whether we need to redo seeker or anything like that?
A good question. Again, if I understand correctly, so long as
you don't seek to reorder any of the infrastructure. So I think what you were presently proposing, my understanding was that it did seek to reorder some of that infrastructure. So that would, if you were looking to change any of that, then that would require, reopening seeker and an amended approval. But if you're looking to say you want to construct on lot 7 first, I think there's a lot that has to happen before you could get to that point, that I think you'd want to make headway on all or most of those conditions before actually even getting a site plan approval, because that would likely expire in the interim if you were hadn't started any of those improvements yet, like the road, the INI. There's a few different
We
things
would want
that
to do the infrastructure first.
So, well, actually,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do the infrastructure first. Both the EIS and the subdivision approval are very clear that there are precursor requirements that have to be completed before a permit can be issued for a particular site to build the house. And that is all of the infrastructure that services the site. And as we were talking about, if some of that infrastructure is, you can't there's no shortcuts. You can't just put a pipe in that goes from lot 7 to the sewer. If there's all that shared infrastructure that's going to be joined by other lots, all of that shared infrastructure that goes with that site has to be put in. You don't have to you don't have to do the hookups, but you have to have the place to do the tie-ins. Make sense?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, that's.
And okay, good.
But what I'm hearing is that because we want to do that infrastructure work first rather than in the middle, we'd have to reopen seeker.
No,
no,
go ahead, Ashley.
but you would have to do that infrastructure before you could take any start any construction of any individual home. So all of that would have to be
Sure.
Right.
done, and I think you would want to make a decent amount of headway on that, because there are quite a few things, and it'll take some time before potentially coming to the board for a site plan for a specific lot that would likely expire while you're trying to do all of that other necessary work.
Right. Well, that's, I mean, that's, you certainly can continue, we're not saying don't, we're not saying stop. You can continue this process, but with the understanding that the permit's not gonna get issued for that lot until this, until all the conditions are fulfilled.
Sure. So I think what we're envisioning is that, planning and design for lot 7 would be done in parallel with, improvement, designing the improvements for the road and all of that kind of thing. So, but obviously improvements to the road and the site utilities and all that have to happen first.
Right. And just as another matter of, sort of procedure and business, the site work will need a building permit. Right, of course. And I was talking with John a little bit earlier. We haven't dug all the way into it. I'm not sure that there are shovel-ready plans for that infrastructure yet. I'm not saying they're not. When I say I'm not sure, that's what I mean. But it's more than just it has to be more than just the site plan approval that says, yeah, we're going to put a sewer down this road, right? All of the required detailed drawings and layout and inverts, all that engineering stuff has to be complete and approved, and there have to be drawings. And their own set of, SWIPs and there are some other requirements for getting the permits from the DEC to do this stuff. I don't know where we stand with the I&I reduction requirements, because as you may or may not know, the village's sewer system is quite leaky. And one of the issues with putting in new lots is that there isn't much headroom because of all of the I&I. For those sorry, I didn't mean to talk in initials. I&I is inflow and infiltration. Inflow is where you have a connection to a sewer, where you're intentionally putting something other than sewage into it. So, go down in your basement and see if your sump pump is hooked up to the sewer line. That's inflow, which is not allowed. Infiltration is leakage. We've got 100-year-old something sewer lines. There's 6-foot sections of clay pipe that have got a joint, and those joints leak and roots get in, and you get groundwater into the system. Back in the old days, when all we did was run it into the river, nobody cared, because the more water that's in the pipe, the better. But now that we have to treat all of that, you don't want to treat clean water. You only want to treat black water. In any event, our sewer plant, like all sewer plants of its age, have got I&I issues, which cuts down on the amount of sewage that you can put into the pipe. And so I&I reductions were part of the requirements to get the permits to put the connections together. I don't know where we are with that, and doesn't have to be answered tonight, but these are all things that have to be addressed.
Yeah, I think
So-
what would be really helpful, I think it might have been discussed at the last meeting, but would be to have the applicant submit a narrative going through all of the, relevant conditions of the resolution, advising where they are on the status of all of those things, those outside agency approvals, I&I, et cetera, and the finding statement as well. So all of the things that would have to be satisfied before they could move forward with lot 7, if this is their intent to start with that lot, advising the board where they are on each of those elements. I think that would be very helpful.
What she said.
Okay, so just to confirm, it's your opinion that we don't need to reopen seeker or anything like that to reorder our construction sequence. I would like to settle on the idea of whether or not we're going to do lot 7 first, understanding that the road and site utilities have to happen
Yeah,
first.
I mean, this board didn't specify the existing, phasing plan or construction sequence plan. That came from you guys' side. And part of that was done, I think, and having spoken to my predecessor and people who were more involved in this, to exactly that, to be able to start doing some construction on lots that needed the least amount of infrastructure improvements. And then as it built out, do more and more. But hey, you want to do all the infrastructure now. I mean, that's what they're doing over at Tuxedo Farms. They're busy doing infrastructure for a whole project that they haven't been able to build a house on yet.
Yeah, so our rationale is it does make sense to do the infrastructure first, and also some of the lots, like lot 7, they're further away from people and it's more private and less less destructive, really, to neighbors. And so we thought that, to start with a proof of concept kind of,
I think you may hear for some people who don't agree with you, but that's fine. Yeah, no, I mean, that, again, this is the order of which lot you want to develop first is, we can amend that without having to reopen the.
Yeah, so what essentially would be moving current stage 3 to become
Yeah.
stage 1. So if you want to change anything though in stage 3, that's a different story, but as long as everything in stage 3 infrastructure wise is going to be part of the new stage 1, that's what's important from a seeker and compliance with the prior approval perspective.
Make sense?
Yeah. So next question is whether this is something we can resolve tonight or whether
what are we trying to resolve?
the reordering of the does this require is this a resolution that you guys can vote on tonight, or whether
I don't, I would say it doesn't need any action by the board. So the way it was written into the construction plan and the DEIS, the FEIS, was that the order of the stages depends on, the market and what was going to be developed first. So as long as the everything in that stage is not changing, then that wouldn't require anything. It would just be up to the applicant to proceed how they want to, submit what you want to. And then go from there. If anything changes along the way, then we'll have to, deal with it then, but.
Right. I think it would be, useful to have, knowing this and knowing that the modified plan that you submitted sort of has separated out some of that infrastructure that's going to have to be done. We'd like to see, again, a more developed phasing plan of sort of construction schedule, so we know what's going to be happening. And there are multiple pages of precursor requirements. So, as Ashley mentioned, all the things that you're going to have to get resolved in order to be able to put a shovel in the ground, where they stand and what your plan is to do them. And that's part of the permit application package that has to go. And I invite you to speak to John about that, because that's really out of our purview, but what you're going to need to put together in order to get the permits to be able to do the infrastructure work that you want to do in order to be ready to build on a lot. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I've been talking a lot. Anybody else got something?
I just have one question. On Mr. Overton's cover letter, he doesn't mention lot number 5, when that would be developed, and
yeah, that's in the revised
okay, it's in the yellow.
Lot
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at your.
5 would be stage 1.
Okay, all right, I see it here now. Yeah.
5, 6, and 7. Okay.
Yep, 5, 6, 7. Good.
Okay, so let me summarizing, so to have it clear in my mind.
Yes, sir.
We're okay, we're good to go with lot 7. On a parallel track, though, we have some work to do, some civil engineering to do for the utilities. And what we really ought to do is kind of go through the various conditions of the approval. We got that status update, as to where we are. As far as all.
Right. Absolutely. And because, and we still have to then, there's all the site plan stuff that still has to be done, obviously, for lot 7, and there's the bar, and if I remember correctly, you may need a variance for, I know you need for the porch, so, we're not getting started tomorrow,
No, sure.
but great.
The porch because it's bigger than.
The porch is,
25%.
exactly, so that needs a variance.
I would like to pursue that first. That way I could nail down the footprint of the building.
Right, I mean, we've identified that you're gonna need a variance for that.
Yeah.
You don't need us to reject an application for that. You can, if you know you need a variance, you can go to
Right.
zoning appeals to start moving that process forward. And again, I invite you to discuss those sort of procedural things with John.
And that's another thing, though, I would also just be cautious, like, there's likely expiration dates on any variants too, so just to keep in mind
Timing.
where
Timing.
timing wise, because usually there's a, say it's a 1 year, and I don't know that this village's timeframe for variances offhand, but say it's a year, usually you have to get a building permit within a year. I just don't know how practical that is with all the other items that have to be done before you could start building. So just that way, you don't go too far down with that board and have something that is expired and you have to do it all over again.
Okay. We have audience members and there's no, I don't think there's any, these aren't like the village board meetings where we have formal comment period. So please, you're here and if you have something that you want to add, all I ask is that you identify yourself and your address for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is May Shore and I live at 40 Camp Comfort Road. And I'm just trying to get up to speed here. My understanding is that Mr. Overton had requested lot number 1 as the first in the sequence of building. Is that correct?
So the original, the original, and Ashley, stop me when I say something wrong. The original subdivision approval includes a proposed construction phasing plan. Which had 3 phases or three groups of properties to be built and suggested that an order that they would be constructed. There's also in both the subdivision approval and the EIS, a whole series of infrastructure requirements amongst other things, other kinds of environmental permits that have to be completed before a building permit could be issued for a lot. In the original phasing plan, it was pretty much ordered by the lots that needed the least infrastructure improvements were contemplated as being constructed first. But the language of the approval is very clear that the order that lots might be developed was dependent on market forces. And I mean, someone showed up and bought lot 3, they'd build lot 3 first. And that is acceptable to all of the terms of the permits and the approval, provided that any infrastructure improvements required to construct on that lot are completed before the permit for building on that lot is issued.
Okay, so why is now number 7 the first lot that Mr. Overton wants to develop as opposed to number 1?
I don't know. That's a decision by the owner as how they want to develop their property. I don't know if you have an answer for that.
Yeah, the answer is that, number 1, we'd like to do the site utilities first. So we'd like to install those along the road. And the second is that lot 7 is sort of by itself. It's farther away from the neighbors back then. Less of an impact. say lots one or two.
I would actually disagree. Yeah, it's actually right behind us. So there is a neighbor, we're the neighbors.
I'm not saying there's no neighbors, but,
Lot one actually seems to be the furthest away, from what I can tell. So from the existing residents in the neighborhood. So why would you not, if that's, you know, if you can build out the infrastructure on lot one, why not do lot one?
you know, we're advised that improving the road and the infrastructure along the road would allow us to sell those lots more easily. And
I mean, my understanding is that it's a speculation house, correct?
So
Is
wait, let me stop for a second,
Okay,
okay? The decision on the fact that it's not gonna be, that it hasn't been purchased by somebody yet, that it's a spec house, kind of doesn't fall into the purview of this board, or for that matter, I think any board. Our mandate is to make sure that the construction is done in accordance with the approved conditions. So, and to a certain extent, it's, you know, it is the property owner's right to make decisions about how they want to develop their property, as long as they do it within the rules. And the only reason I jump in there is also that, I mean, these are questions maybe best directed to Mr. Overton. Not necessarily his, you know, avatar here. Anyway, but
Okay.
carry on.
I mean, that was just my question is, you know, what, and you had, I was just wondering why one was initially agreed upon or was proposed, and now number 7 is proposed. As we are, it's directly behind us, so it would greatly impact us.
well, those are the reasons. I mean,
It just sounds like the line that's being used, that it's the least impactful on the local community is incorrect. It's what we're saying. And maybe that's another letter that needs to be written to Overton, but it's actually totally not true. I guess including the students too, like up at the school. I mean, depending on that schedule, all the scheduling, everything that needs to happen, so.
Yeah, I mean,
all of the properties have very healthy setbacks and buffers. I understand that during construction, there's always going to be noise and traffic and that kind of thing. But once that settles down, you know, the houses are going to be very private.
I'm waiting for that. The next thing, is there anybody online who has comments, since we've opened things up to comments? I see a hand. And
Hi.
before you get started, just let me say one thing. There's a weirdness in this room. The camera's at the back of the room. I'm looking at the camera now. The screen where we see you is to our right. So it only looks like I'm looking away from you. So don't, this has been a problem in the past. Don't take offense if it looks like we're not paying attention to you. We actually are.
No worries on my part. I don't even have my camera on, so
Okay.
I just want to.
I'm sorry. Can you
Oh,
identify
sorry,
yourself
Elizabeth
and where you live?
Cotnoir. Yes, Elizabeth Cotnoir. I reside at 170 Weewa. I'm the owner of 40 Camp Comfort. And May is my daughter. She and her husband and family live at 40 Camp Comfort. And we did notice that this change does bring the construction much closer, that the individual who's doing the development is not a resident, is not impacted by what's happening. It's not being built for somebody or for themselves. It's basically to make available to the market. So I would just add to May's voice and the concerns about the new placement of the startup. And I did have a question as to whether spec houses had ever been built in the park before. I didn't get an answer to that from my letter to the village office, but I'm not sure if anybody there has that answer. It's something I have to pursue. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comment. I can say that historically, a large number of the houses were built on spec in the park. They weren't all done as custom built. Although that's,
Some might have been intended to be spec and then didn't work out.
yeah, well, there was that too. So, but thank you for your comment. Anyone else online? Anyone else in the room? Okay. We look forward to seeing the next piece of this. And again, I direct you to John for procedural questions. Ashley, did I miss anything?
No, I think that's really it for now. We'll see, when the applicant submits again, that narrative will certainly be helpful and give the board an idea of where they stand on everything that has to happen.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming out. All right, we have no other projects before us. We do have the review of minutes. Desiree, which minutes are we reviewing?
Last meeting, which was in January, was the January 22nd, but then previously, I don't know if you got my memo.
I didn't today, sorry.
Okay, for last year, because we have such gaps in time as far as meetings go, but on the June 12th, 24, they were actually tabled. They are posted, the draft, online on the website, but we do need to have an official approval or just approved as submitted, which I know Ashley has mentioned in the past when something like that happens.
So we got two sets. So let's start with the older one first. June.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so June 12th, 24 is the one that was tabled. And I don't recall exactly the reason why it was tabled, but I believe there may have been a transition as far as board members during that time, possibly.
We didn't have enough board members who had been at that meeting to be able to.
Exactly.
So who was at that meeting? Who's sitting here now?
Okay, let me open that up and see here. So let's see here. I have to open it.
Not you.
Okay. There we go. So it was yourself, Richard, Matthew Tenari, and Tom. Were at that meeting, and Ashley, of course.
And Ashley, but she doesn't count for this
Yes.
process. My suggestion is that all those were reviewed and commented on because we do that before we publish them.
Yes.
It would be my
yes.
recommendation that we accept that one as presented, because we're never going to get a quorum of people who were at that meeting. And the longer we wait, the sooner that one of us is going to kick off anyway. So
Yes.
like me, it's like anyway, sorry. Filters. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 12th, 2024 as written?
A second.
Okay. All in favor, and everybody can vote on it because we're not voting on the minutes.
So
It's
I
unanimous.
guess you wouldn't need to really vote on anything. What will happen is they'll just stay in draft form and those will become the minutes. They just won't be approved.
Okay, then, never mind. All right, and then the next one is January,
Correct. The 22nd.
where I believe everybody was there. Everybody,
Was I?
oh, maybe
No,
you
I was
weren't.
not.
Okay.
So maybe wait until the next meeting to see if you have a quorum on those?
We have a quorum for that. No, we have a quorum in the room and we have you were here in January, so there were three of us who were
Oh,
out
three
there
of you.
Yes.
Okay,
in the
three
room.
that were
Yes.
there, right.
Yes, Jay, Richard, Matthew, and Jeremy.
Right. And everyone's had a chance to comment on them, so unless anyone has suddenly remembered something they want to change. All right, so I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the three of us who were there, so. Matt's absent and Stephanie abstains. Well, you don't have to, but, okay. I got nothing else unless anybody else has got business. Going once, going twice? All right, so then, can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, there we go. Seconded, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you,
Good
thank
night.
you, Ashley.
So that was.
Thank you all for coming.